Hello and welcome to Reroll. My name is Angus Morrison, and first let me apologise for my extended absence. In the past week, when I should have been bringing you a review of Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, I was instead graduating, packing, moving house, and, well, having trouble with Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. This is of course the latest DLC expansion to Borderlands 2, developed as the original was by Gearbox and published by 2K, released worldwide on the 25th of June 2013. And so this is a review that is both delayed and considerably curtailed relative to my usual videos. As you will undoubtedly know by now, Assault on Dragon Keep has received near universal praise, but where critics at max level have sailed through a charming expansion, I have been late to the party, and as a lowly level 36, I have found it near impossible to complete, something which is indicative of very serious scaling and balance issues which are not unique to this piece of DLC and have, in my opinion, been overlooked in other reviews. But let's start with the features that, from my brief experience of the game, were truly excellent. My criterion for a good piece of DLC is a product which offers something that could not otherwise be experienced in a simple replay of the original, something that breaks away from the standard formula to offer something in the way of novelty. And for Borderlands 2, this might appear to be a particular challenge. The Borderlands formula, while highly successful, is not exactly what you might call complex, essentially boiling down to kill enemies in ridiculous quantity, acquire loot in ridiculous quantity. In this regard, Borderlands 2 was simply a more refined copy of Borderlands 1, and Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep does not seem keen to break with tradition. But where another game might be slated on the grounds of such a simple premise, Borderlands succeeds thanks to its quirky cel-shaded aesthetic and the characters which inhabit the wastes of Pandora, lovable and psychotic in equal measure. For Borderlands, the gameplay and mechanics are brought to life by setting and caricature, and it's the latter two we can judge the latest expansion by. Assault on Dragon Keep will immediately delight anyone who has played Dungeons & Dragons or a similar tabletop game before. Hosted by Tiny Tina, 3 of our Vault Hunters sit down for a game of bunkers and badasses, and Gearbox have astutely captured the experience with impressive accuracy. Mordecai thinks himself too cool to be there, feigning disinterest and bafflement at arcane rule sets.
What's going on? I wasn't paying attention.
Brick is enthusiastic, but with little time for formality.
I punched the initiative.
And Lilith is never more than 2 steps from full-blown role-playing.
Let's talk to some townfolk.
The sporadic ad-libbing of nonsensical rules and encounters by our explosive dungeon master and the sometimes ridiculous consequences of 20-sided randomization are hilariously accurate representations of the Nerd's Night In.
Where you going?
We're exploring!
You may not want to do that. I only balanced the combat on the main path and...
Oh no.
Wait. How in the hell are we supposed to kill these things?
Ah! My bad! I'll fix it! Let me fix it! Boom! Combat balanced!
While the running and gunning remains its usual self, with the exception of a handful of themed weapons, the running commentary of the Vault Hunters alone makes Assault on Dragon Keep worth a playthrough. It is perhaps too reliant on references to pop culture. In the first handful of zones you'll find Gearbox paying homage to, or ruthlessly mocking, Dark Souls, Game of Thrones, and Star Wars, among others. But with so much of the humour standing on its own 2 feet and some genuinely touching moments with Tina and Roland thrown in amongst the chaos, I'm prevented from complaining too much. The environment too is fantastic, gothic fantasy rendered in Borderlands cel-shaded cartoon style. There's far less of Gearbox's aggressive asset reuse too. Despite its charm, Borderlands 1 was criticised for its limited artwork. There were a great many recurrent objects, many of which found their way into the sequel as well. That one piss off sign that adorns every bandit camp has been there since the beginning. And there is the occasional object that has been transplanted from vanilla Borderlands 2 into Dragon Keep, but the work that has gone into creating an entirely new theme using the Borderlands aesthetic is staggering. The grandeur of the refreshing fantasy setting nicely masks the occasional copy-pasted signpost. For laughs and looks then, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep is a must-play. But my experience of the gameplay itself is a rather different story. Assault on Dragon Keep has proved great fun for all those attempting the challenge at either the level 50 or 61 level cap. The challenge does not scale at all well with level, however, to the point where I, playing as a level 36-ish 0, found it impossible to complete. Impossible. Now, I do not consider myself a bad gamer. Not spectacular by any means, but you can't spend as much time as I have glued to a keyboard without picking up something in the way of skills. The vanilla Borderlands 2 content of the appropriate level and set to true Vault Hunter mode does not present much in the way of challenge, but with Assault on Dragon Keep, I hit a brick wall. Enemies at this level are characterized by copious health and multiple elemental damage resistances. Certainly, I should have been better prepared. A sniper with only the one Volcano sniper rifle showed some lack of foresight, but for all the good switching to my other weapons did, I may as well have been blowing gently on my foes. Coupled with their incredible resistance to bullets is the ability of Dragon Keep's enemies to hit like runaway trucks, the skeleton archers in particular. Now, normally I'd applaud this kind of challenge. Having arrows pack a serious punch but fly slowly, giving time to evade, rewards skill and adds a second level of strategy to the usual point and shoot affair, where getting hit is more often than not the fault of the player. But these skeletal arrows flew with demonic accuracy, and more often than not with enough force to two-shot me. Not ideal. And this was the story for the entirety of my playthrough, with the exception of those very rare enemies where I could rack up enough fire damage with my rifle before they managed to reach me. So I decided to switch from True Vault Hunter down to normal mode, figuring that maybe I had just reached the limits of my own abilities. But the story was much the same. While enemies were easier to bring down, their health, resistances and damage output were all far too high, and very poorly balanced for the level range in question. The footage of the boss fight I have here in the background was on a normal mode run, and I simply lacked the power and resistance to damage to defeat even the first of the 4 Ghost Kings. You'll see it pretty quickly devolves into panic as I realise I can't even keep a handle on the adds without dropping like a stone, and it was here that my time with Assault on Dragon Keep ended. This isn't actually a problem unique to Tiny Tina's expansion. All of the DLC has been very clearly designed with the level capped player in mind, and not enough work has gone into ensuring that the content scales. As a result, and despite the wonderful job that Gearbox have done on the setting and script, I cannot recommend buying Assault on Dragon Keep or the Season Pass if you've yet to hit the level cap. Where there should be a hilarious adventure through a psychotic fantasy land, there is instead frustration and disappointment.